What is up?
I was so awkward at the beginning because no one's in here.
And
We're just talking to ourselves.
You're like, what's up, guys?
Like, hey, everybody. Hello.
We should get you like a little like thing to put in front of it, like, you know, starts in 5 minutes.
Oh,
and
we should.
Like that.
Wow, that would be, well, I don't know.
Extra?
That'd be really extra.
What is up, guys?
You missed Anastasia's birthday yesterday.
Anastasia, happy belated birthday. Should we sing?
We sang yesterday. You missed it.
I'm sorry I missed singing happy birthday to you, Anastasia.
That's funny.
I feel remiss.
Hello, everyone. So, today we have Joel from BB Canada coming on, which I don't watch Big Brother Canada.
He's in there already.
Oh, he's in here. Okay, cool. So let's just get this party started. And I went, hey, Joel!
What's up?
Hey, Kat, what's up?
Nothing. So excited to have you on. We've been planning this for 3 weeks now. So
That's
finally,
right.
Today's the day.
That's right. 3 weeks in the making. I feel like it's one of those, like, the Super Bowl, but it's like 3 weeks.
Hey, during quarantine, 3 weeks is a long time.
You're damn right, yeah.
It is. But, no, but everyone is super, well, first of all, people were like, please have on more Big Brother Canada people. And I was like, oh, like, duh, like, just wait, because Joel's going to be on. And and then when I announced that you're coming on, everyone was super, super excited. So, yay. So thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Thanks for inviting me on. It's a pleasure.
Of course.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But, okay, Joel, I'll
Yep.
be honest. I don't watch Big Brother Canada because...
You guys
Well,
don't have that access to that over there. You have to watch like a feed. You have to do like a VPN or something like that to watch it,
there's
right?
it's like I feel like it's like a black market way of watching it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm sure it's not that
It's
difficult.
not that serious.
I mean, you just get a proxy website, or you can talk to some of the Rob Sesternino does the podcaster RHAP.
Yeah.
He's got feeds, so I would just talk to him, or Brendan and Rachel watch it all the time. So yeah,
And Jessica Milagros watches it too.
that's true. Yeah, well, Jessica knows one of the former contestants. The season before mine. This girl, Brittany Blair, who's a plus-size model like Jessica.
Oh, yeah,
so I'm pretty sure they know
that.
each other through that. Yeah. So
Wow,
there you go.
The Big Brother world is small.
Yeah, for sure.
So Joel, okay, so I want to know more about you, and I'm sure a lot of other people that also think that watching Big Brother Canada is the black market.
Okay.
I'm sure that they also want to know. Just turn my ring light off. We have a ta-da. Just tell me about, first, introduce yourself. Tell us about who you are. What was your character on the show? What do you do for a living?
Okay.
Just who is Joel?
Sure. Okay, so basically people obviously know me from Big Brother Canada. I was on season number 4. That was in 2016. It was my 3rd time trying out, so I made it to finals on a couple of occasions trying out. At the time, I was an actor and a broadcaster. I guess my character on the show would be probably like the really sweet and nice guy. Initially, they portrayed me as like, oh, the poor guy who never got a date, who never had a girlfriend or any of that stuff going onto the show and everything like that. Yeah.
Who would that be like?
Similar to like Ian or Steve, I guess, is probably the people that people would
say.
compare me to. Also because of the glasses thing. You can't ever avoid that. Anybody who goes on the US or the Canadian version of the show and has glasses or has a bit of a nerdy personality, people automatically assume that they're like, oh, we got to watch out for him because he's Ian and Ian won, or it's Steve, watch out for them. So...
That's so funny. Yeah, I have glasses too, which I wore a couple times, but I wasn't typecasted as a glasses wearer. Maybe if I was, people would have taken me more seriously, though.
Perhaps, but I knew that going in, and I remember watching the U.S. season 17 because our season was right after Steve had just won, and that was like my worst fear was like, oh crap, who are they going to remember? Even like the casual fans, they're going to remember the glasses person who won in that season. So I was like, okay, how do I find a way to like show these people that, hey, I'm totally different than Steve, I'm totally different than Ian, maybe I have glasses, I'm nerdy and I'm a super fan like them, but I'm more than that.
You're so much more than your glasses.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Wait, but you are a Big Brother super fan.
Oh,
You
I
said
was
that
a
you
huge...
applied 3 times?
Yeah, so I think I'm a super fan. I guess it depends on people's definition. I will say that before I tried out for the show, my first time trying out was season 2 of Big Brother Canada.
Oh, cool.
And I had seen probably about 1 or 2 seasons at that point. But so I call myself a transformed Big Brother super fan. I got into Big Brother because in season 14, the season that Ian happened to win, the season where they had the coaches, Janelle and Boogie and them, I watched that season because they were talking about the brother of a former Survivor contestant being on. And I'm a diehard Survivor. Like, I've loved Survivor from the very beginning. And among my favorite Survivor players is Russell. So when they talked about Russell's brother being on, I was like, okay, I don't know anything about this guy, but if he's related to Russell, he's going to be incredibly captivating TV. He must be, like, cool and incredibly entertaining TV. Now, he kind of flamed out and really, like, crashed and burned that season, and just, like, you know, things weren't going his way. But yeah, ever since then, I looked at some of the characters. I looked at people like Ian. I rewatched all the seasons for about a year. That's all I did was binge watch Big Brother. And I said to myself, like,
that's a commitment, too.
It is. Absolutely, it is. It was like every day after work, it was like 2 or 3 episodes of Big Brother from the very beginning, from season 1 all the way to season 14, to the point where when I tried out for season 3, I was completely caught up on all the US seasons and had watched the Canadian seasons. So yeah, I just told myself, like, I think I'd like Survivor more, but I think I'd do better on Big Brother. And I think I was right.
So actually, wait, I'm about to expose myself for being really, really dumb. But I'm already asking it, so here we are. Actually, wait, I don't know. Okay. I can't ask. I cannot risk it.
Okay.
Okay, actually, I'll just say. I was going to ask you if there was a Survivor Canada. But
no,
there
is.
Or is there?
Okay. No, but they just... I think it was on the Island of the Idols season, they started allowing Canadians to apply. So now there was that old former hockey player, Tom, from that season, who was originally from Canada but played NHL hockey. So now Canadians can apply for Survivor if they want to. They weren't allowed to before.
Okay, you brought up... I just thought about this. You brought up hockey and Canadians. Why do Canadians love hockey so much? I have to know. I think obsessed with hockey.
I think it's just sort of a thing is because it's our culture. It was like the first sport that was brought up by most Canadians, and it just kind of went from there. Sort of the same reason why people call, I think baseball is called, like, America's pastime, right? It's because it was probably like the first sport that most of them ever played.
And hockey is to Canada.
There you go. Yeah.
Cool.
There you have it.
Well, dang. So also, I have a couple Canadian friends. Well, actually I have 2. Or no, I have 3.
Do they say a lot and a boot? And
yes, they do.
That's awesome.
I love Canada. I was supposed to go to Banff a couple weeks ago before quarantine hit.
Yep.
How far are you close to Banff at all?
So I'm originally from Alberta. When I was on the show,
that's where my friends live.
I was from Edmonton, so I know Banff quite well. Banff is about 2 or 3 hour drive for me from there. So my folks still live out there, but I have, since October, I've been working as a drama instructor. Not anymore because of quarantine. So we'll see what happens when this finishes up. But yeah, I've been living in Surrey, so a suburb of Vancouver, since October.
Nice. Yeah. Wait, so you're a drama instructor usually. So now that you're just, I guess as we all are chilling in our homes during quarantine, what have you been doing to keep yourself busy?
So I was working another job at the time that I've been able to maintain, which is just like as a grocery store associate, doing that. And then the rest of the time, I just do what everyone else does, which is watch Netflix, drink Baby Duck, and...
Baby Duck?
Yeah, you never heard of it? It's amazing.
No, what is that?
It's this right here. It's basically, it's like a cheap, I don't know, do you guys have Colt 45 over there? It's sort of like cheap beer that all the kids would get.
Oh no, we have
Like they get it because
Keystone.
it's cheap, but it's not necessarily like high quality stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I love a good low quality beer. I mean,
There you go.
college could really could really throw them back.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, okay, I'll be honest. Whenever you said that you drink baby duck, for some reason my mind went to like people eating bats, and I don't know why. So I'm really glad that it was like it ended up just being like a wine.
Well, that's good. The first thing that comes to my mind, and it's kind of embarrassing, is the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of that is that silly song that everybody sings about that shark, the baby shark or whatever. Yeah.
Baby.
Yeah.
No, every time you take drink your baby duck, you're gonna be singing baby duck.
Yeah, that's all. That's all I'm gonna do. Yeah, that's it. That's what we do.
I love that. Okay, actually, wait. I had a question. What was it? Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm all over the place. But has anyone made the connection of in Bachelor World, there's Grocery Store Joe, and since you worked at a grocery store, you could be Grocery Store Joel.
Grocery Store Joel? No,
I
have not thought about that, but that is a nice. I'll have to research who that particular person is. I've never heard.
He's like a Big Brother icon. Not Big Brother. He's like a Bachelor icon, I think.
Is it like when? I think it was when Sarah Palin was running for vice president. Wasn't there that whole shtick about Joe the plumber or something like that? And that was like Sarah Palin's husband or something like that. It was called was a plumber or Joe the plumber. I remember there's a cartoon because I watch American politics because I lived in the States for a couple of years. So I followed American politics. New York. That's where I did my acting training in New York City. So I lived in Manhattan. I lived in Manhattan for a couple of years. Yeah.
Wait, so were you born in Canada, then moved to U.S. and then went back, or?
Yeah, so I was born in Edmonton, lived in Alberta for most of my life, and then once I got my college degree in drama, I got accepted to a university in Manhattan called American Musical Dramatic Academy. So I did a 2-year acting program down there, lived down there for a little while, and then visa expired, and then came back to Alberta, tried to do some stuff over here, and then been kind of all over the place with all over Canada pursuing acting for a while, and then I stumbled upon a teaching job that I didn't need a degree for or anything, and I was like, yeah, I could use a quick buck here and there for this, and it's pretty straightforward teaching drama to like elementary school kids, so I don't need to like...
But you're still acting too. You can do that and act.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when we're not in a pandemic, I'm assuming.
No. Yeah, exactly. Not so much right now, but when
That's
things
so
get back up and running, hopefully. Yeah.
Cool. Well, other question that I have. Okay, so I went to Cowboys Calgary.
Yep.
It was every year they always have like some of like the Big Brother people come and do appearances.
Yep.
I am not that famous in the United States, but in Canada, like everywhere I went, people knew who I was, which really inflated my ego. Why is Big Brother US such a huge deal in Canada?
Well, for one, the global television has the show, the American version, in addition to the Canadian version, as well as Survivor. So we have access to all of the big American reality TV shows that you guys don't have access to the Canadian ones. So we've been exposed to reality TV for such a long time, and it's kind of become a bit of a culture and religion, depending on from where exactly you're from. And it's just extremely popular. And some people, I guess, I don't know, some people get tired of like, okay, we watch the Calgary Flames hockey team, we watch football, and then, what do we do during this downtime over here? It's kind of, it airs at a good time where people, sports fans and hockey and stuff like that is not as big of a deal, because it's like, it's not at the start of the season when everyone's super excited, just like in baseball, when it's opening day, everybody crowds the stadiums. But it's sort of that in-between period between start of the season and right around playoff time when everybody goes and they're excited because their team might win the championship. Yeah. So I think that plays a factor too. If you ever go to East Coast Canada, anywhere in the Maritimes, say New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, it's like whatever you're following or the amount of fame you think you got in Calgary, it'll be like 100 times more in those provinces, because those provinces don't have professional sports. They don't have
Do they
a
love
lot
Big
of
Brother?
like professional. Yeah, they love like okay. I did some stops in Nova Scotia when I got off the show. A DJ there took me to a free concert of oh my god, why am I blanking on her name? The woman who sings the "I'm all about the hits, no the bass, no
Oh,
treble."
no,
Um,
what is her name?
what is her name? Oh my
Megan
god,
Trainor.
Megan Trainor. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a free concert
But
of
I loved
yeah
your, I should
yeah
have asked you to keep singing. I was like,
yeah
oh, I
no,
don't know. Like, keep
I
singing.
well. If people remember me from the show, they remember me famously singing a song of a famous Canadian artist. So,
Wait, y'all are allowed to sing?
no, we're not. But
Oh.
I was lip syncing, and the producers from the show knew this singer, and they got the rights. So
no
it
way.
actually like played on the
Wait.
show.
That's like maybe
You
the
would probably-
only
you would
time
probably-
that that's ever happened.
You would probably know the singer,
Who is it?
Carly Rae Jepsen.
Yes!
Yeah,
Oh my
you know
gosh!
her famous song? Yeah.
Yeah,
They-
Call Me Maybe, right?
Yeah, Call Me Maybe. I famously
Well,
they
she's
played that for
Canadian.
about yeah, she is. And she was known by the producers of our show, so therefore she was able to give them the rights to let me lip sync that song.
That's
I didn't
so
know it was
fun.
gonna air, but like that's
Wow.
all the questions I had when I got off my season. They were like, "Hey, can you do some Carly Rae? Can you do some Carly Rae with this?" And I was like,
love
"What are you
that.
talking about?"
There's I will say, so I'm not, I didn't think I was one of those people that would like randomly like sing and
Yep.
whatever here and there, but when you can't sing in the Big Brother house for like 4 months or so, or
Yep.
well, I was only there for like maybe 2 months, but I never have I ever just had the urge to break out in song like I did back then.
Yeah, no, same. And it was to the point where that was probably the thing that producers called me out on the most. And there was even a point where we weren't even allowed to like talk out lyrics. I remember I had a conversation with no, you can't, because I was like, okay, well, we just can't sing. If we're talking out song lyrics to somebody, then it's okay. And then so I think I was having a conversation with Nick one time, and I was like, he was talking about how he got a guitar
Nick
one time. And
from my season?
No. My season, there was a fellow named Nick on my season. And he talked about how he used to play the guitar. And I said, oh, was it a 6-string? And then we talked out that Bryan Adams song, The Summer of '69. And it's like, so you got your first real 6-string at the 5 and dime? Oh, was it the Summer of '69?
So Bryan Adams could sue
Yeah.
Big Brother Canada?
Yeah.
No,
we couldn't. They called us in the diary room and said, like, you're not. He is Canadian, but yeah, they called me to the diary room after I did that, and we're like, yeah, you can't talk it, can't sing it, can't do anything when it comes to
you
that.
are a rule breaker.
I know, I'm horrible. What can I say?
But I thought if singing is like the worst thing you did, then actually, wait, no, I do want to know. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people say this, and actually, Anastasia Christiani brought it up in the comments. A lot of people say that they like Big Brother US over Big Brother Canada because Canadians are so nice, and y'all are. Y'all like, I don't know if it's a stereotype or what, but y'all are really so nice. So I guess like Big Brother US is more like backstabbing. So
Yeah.
what is the worst thing that you did on Big Brother Canada? As far as like backstabbing or, like gameplay wise.
So are we talking like the worst thing that fans assume? Because fans create a lot of like crazy rumors and stuff. Okay.
No, like the worst thing, like on Big Brother, you have to be like cutthroat. Like you have to like make like savage decisions.
Yeah, sure.
Like what was the most savage thing that you did on Big Brother Canada, if anything?
Ooh. I feel like the most savage thing was probably the one that I can think of off the top of my head was when I was about to get evicted and I completely was like, well, my game has fallen to pieces, but you guys caught me playing both sides. But you know what? You two guys are hypocrites. You've done the same thing. You've turned a blind eye to this. These guys tried to kick you off. Nick and Phil, you guys think you guys are like people of integrity and class, but you guys are, I basically like was like, Kelsey, you've turned a blind eye to these people, like trying to vote you off for weeks. Nick and Phil, you guys think that you're like the most integral people, but you guys are the biggest hypocrites and need to grow the fuck up. I didn't say the F word, but I was like, you guys need to grow up. And then,
okay, actually, Joel, I do have to take it back what I said though, because
what?
Well, Caitlin Herman's in here. Hey, Caitlin. But everyone's calling me out and saying that y'all actually have better drama than we do. So
We can. It kind of depends. A lot
but
of time.
Canadians really are so nice for real.
Some of them are. It depends. We've only had 8 seasons of the show, and this season that just finished was an abbreviated one because of COVID. So we haven't had enough opportunities to have really bad controversial. We haven't had enough chance to have like big controversial things happen yet.
Yeah,
so,
well, that's probably good. Because
perhaps.
The controversy, that's not the good drama. The good drama is like calling people out in eviction speeches or, like just like doing like gameplay kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. What do you think about BB Canada getting cut off early?
Well, I mean, it sucks for those people that are in there because they can never get like that blank slate. Some of them might get an opportunity to play again. I would be that's all well and good, but they can never play the exact same way without other people looking at them and being like, well, Sheldon did this and Brooke is like this person and this is like this. So they don't have the advantage of that first-time players typically have, which is to just come in there with a clean slate and just, you get to do your thing. You get to play however you want to. They need to change it up a bit as if they're playing an all-star season or playing like a vets versus like newbies season. So it's unfortunate for some of the ones, particularly Sheldon, Brooke, some of the ones who were playing really well. Hira as well was playing a very strong. Sheldon and Brooke probably were the two that I think were playing the smartest and that had the most potential to go really far into the game. And I would say probably those two. Who did I say? Hira, I thought was playing a decent game as well. Any of those I would love to see back.
Yeah, that stinks because there is nothing like that blank slate. I mean, that's something that I honestly didn't even really. I didn't, as weird as it sounds, going into Big Brother, I didn't realize that is like the only chance, like a once in a lifetime opportunity to be able to kind of live your life out, like as someone, like you can be anyone you want to be, as long as you can back it up for 100 days. But like you can take on any kind of persona, any personality trait, whatever, because no one knows who you are. So I don't know, it's kind of cool, but it does suck.
Yeah, no, it sucks. It sucks for all of them, and I'm sure every single one of them is probably going to be saying to themselves for years and years that like, oh, if only this. I mean, we all have that what if, but these people especially have that what if of like, oh, if not for this pandemic or this thing that's going on, I'd be $100,000 richer.
Well, Joel, so what is your what if?
My what if is probably, and not a lot of people will fess up and admit to mistakes or anything that they did when they were in the house. But my what if is, what if I would have just like, in the veto that I got voted out that kind of like derailed everything for me and my alliance, what if I would have just gone with one side or another? I was for people who remember me on my season, I was kind of a middle player. I was a very kind of like, I was playing all sides, but I did have a solid alliance that I had intended to take with me to the end of the game. And it was at a crossroads point where we were at Final 5. My 2 alliance members were on the block. And so I needed to win the veto and take them off. And that way we could have controlled the votes. And, but the other side thought that I was with them too. So I was kind of like, there was 2 and 2 and me right there. I was with the 2 people that were in on the block at that time. But I felt, and it was my mistake, I felt like the 2 people who were in power and the 2 people who were on the block would all just like give me the power of veto. And that was a mistake on my part. And that's one that I will fully own up to, that I just tried to play it too cute, which is like, sometimes you have to be that way when you're playing Big Brother. And sometimes you just need to like put your foot down and say, well, I'm on this side. And that could have been one of those moments.
Yeah,
but you never know.
But sometimes that's tricky because
it is.
because I always thought going into Big Brother that I was going to be the person that I was like, this is my side, like I have my people and whatever. But I feel like playing the cute game of both sides, I think that's great gameplay as long as you can pull it off. Because I feel like maybe you and I's game were similar as far as we were floating around and, whatever. You have to do what you got to do.
Yeah, well, I tried to not necessarily, like, I definitely wasn't, like, a comp beast. I definitely didn't want to appear to be a strategic mastermind because I knew when people looked at me from the outside, they would assume that I'm this big brainiac just because I wear his glasses.
You wear
unfortunately,
because the glasses stereotype.
That is, like, well, the unfortunate thing is that perception is reality when you're in Big Brother. And if people see you, just like if people looked at you, they probably thought you were like the ditzy blonde type of person probably from your season, right?
That is one of my biggest regrets from going into Big Brother is showing up at, as we were talking about how you going into Big Brother, you can be whoever you want to be.
Yep.
I should have been smart enough to know that I should have downplayed the blonde glamour, whatever. Like, obviously I'm still blonde, but I shouldn't have like curled my hair and done my makeup. Like, I should have gone in very like low key, maybe wore like athleisure moving in instead of a pink dress and heels.
But did you have a choice? We don't need to get it. You did have a choice.
Well, yeah. Okay. I mean, at the end of the day, like, they do check your wardrobe and they do tell you like what to wear. But I feel like I could have gone in as the same typecast per se, but not wearing a hot pink dress.
Right. Okay.
Heels. Like, maybe I could have worn my hair more natural looking, or maybe I could have done my makeup a little bit more natural. Like things like the don't scream out dress and heels.
Well, I definitely didn't. If I had it my way, I definitely would not have wanted to walk into the house with a blazer and a bow tie. And like one of the house guests thought that I was like the CEO of like a computer company or something like that. I did not want to come in with that sort of an image that I'm like big, rich, and highly successful. No, the suits and everything like that looked fantastic, but I was also conscious of the fact that like if people look at me like this, I already have the brainiac look to me, but if they think that I'm like a highly successful person, like that's an easy thing for them to want to kick me off right away.
It's so funny how it's the most fascinating social experiment ever. Yeah. Like, in art, so turns out that Ovi actually was a genius, but we just, because of, I guess, like, I don't even know how we got to this point, but we were all convinced that he was a genius. And he was. But that ended up putting a target on his back because it was like nothing you could tell us. Like, he couldn't, like, I mean, he couldn't have convinced us anything otherwise. Like, we already had in our heads that he was a genius, and then he had a target on his back, and he was the first one out. Because we're like, can't have that one, which is actually good for me, because then they were like, oh, let's keep the dumb blonde. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, no, and that was why in my season, in my very first HOH, I tried to win it, and I had a really unbelievable twist come my way, and I was just like, oh, this is like the perfect thing that could happen to me right now. So for my season, our first HOH, because our whole season was like casino themed, so there was lots of gambling stuff going on. So our first HOH was an endurance one, and they said, who do you think will fall off first? Everyone else did a secret vote, and they also said who would win HOH. I voted for myself. I voted for myself to be off first, and I got the most votes to be off first. So the twist was, if I didn't fall off first, I would get safety for the week. And so once Cassandra was the first one who jumped off. Yeah, so she jumped off, and then I was safe for the week. And I was like, okay, now I can like get my bearings a little bit. I can socialize with people without over strategizing, and I can just like it was exactly what I wanted, because I wanted to go into there and start not strategizing right away, but start building relationships and making people feel comfortable with me. Yeah. And that twist really helped me like get my bearings in the game.
That's so smart. Okay, so here's the thing. I guess what I had a problem with going in, because now I'm thinking if that was a vote for us, would I have voted for myself? I think it's hard to swallow your pride, and when you're trying to find an alliance, like, because that's kind of a tricky thing you had to do. Like, would you rather vote for yourself and hopefully you get all the votes, but then you're seen as a non-threat, and then you have to risk, like, would an alliance want to keep, like, is an alliance going to want to work with you?
Right, exactly.
you kind of, I mean, that's honestly, I feel like that's really smart gameplay, and it was a very, like, took a lot of thought on your part, because you do have to swallow your pride and be like, okay, I want to be seen as a non-threat under the radar instead of being this like comp beast hoping an alliance picks me up, if that makes sense. I don't know if I could have done that.
No, yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I will also preface that to say that we had no idea until Arissa, the host of the show, announced what the actual twist was. So I had no idea that I was going to earn safety. For all I know, it could have been a big mistake, and they could have said something like, Joel, you got the most votes, so you need to not fall off first, because if you do, you're out of the game. They could have thrown a twist like that. You never know. They've done that for Big Brother US before, where Glenn kind of just like was out of the game without even getting officially evicted from the game. Yeah. Right? You never know. They could have done something like that and thrown it the other way and been like, how stupid do you look now? You never know.
I know, you never know. Expect the unexpected.
Yeah, there you go.
That's crazy. So what has been the most enriching part of your Big Brother experience? What has changed your life? Your favorite thing? Like what gives you the warm fuzzies looking back on it?
I think probably the most satisfying thing throughout my season is that I was able to play the game that I felt was best for me. It wasn't necessarily like the super flashy, like, make huge moves and backdoors or like the comp beast sort of thing. But I played the game that I felt would get me far in the game, and it got me pretty damn far in the game. I got to top 5.
Or top 5, okay.
I got 5, but there's a lot of one of the person who got second was the person who I evicted during my HOH, and then she came back because of a twist. And then there's a couple other people. There was some internationals, Tim and Nikki, because we had internationals on our season. So Tim and Nikki came in week 2, and Tim ended up getting further than me. Tim ended up getting 3rd place. Nikki ended up getting kicked off just before me. There was Jace as well. I don't know if you've ever talked to Jace from the US.
The only is it Big Brother United States?
Yeah, he was on All Stars, and he was on Big Brother 5. He like way old school. Yeah. Way old school. He was a candidate to be on our season.
I'm a newborn super fan. I've only become a super fan since I went on Big Brother.
There you go.
So I'm still learning names and whatnot, but.
So our season was, after our first eviction, we had 2 male and 2 female house guests that had the potential to get voted in. There was between Nikki and this woman from Italy named Veronica, and it was between those two for a woman to get voted in, and it was between Tim from Australia, Big Brother Australia, and Jace from Big Brother US, who was up against Dr. Will way back in the day. Yeah. Like in All Stars. So.
Dang, how fun.
And Tim and Nikki ended up getting voted in. So there you go.
That's awesome. So what was your favorite season of Big Brother US?
My favorite season?
I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's right. That's hard to say. I'm trying to think of, I mean, in terms of the people that I know personally now and am like good friends with,
don't be biased.
Okay, yeah, I won't be biased. I'll say season 14, because that was the first season I watched. That was when somebody who I could really relate to, Ian, went all the way and won. Like Dan's funeral, Frank, and Boogie, and some of those people. That was my introduction to the game, and that was the season that got me hooked and wanted me to watch all the previous seasons. So, I'll have to say that one.
That's awesome. Wait, so who besides Ian is your favorite Big Brother US player?
My favorite Big Brother US player is probably Eric from season number 8. The season he was America's player. So he was incredible at just like manipulating people, I felt, but he was under control of America. So America told him who he had to campaign for. America told him who he had to vote to evict. So he had to finesse.
So stressful.
Yeah, that was incredibly. I can't imagine how he would have been able to play that way, knowing that, okay, there's 2 people up on the block. Maybe he wants to get rid of this person, but he can't because America tells him to try to evict this person. So he's got to spin things around and also not appear suspicious. And he got to the same place I did. He got to 5th place as well, somehow. With that, when he was not in control of anything, really. So that shows me that he's incredibly charming, but incredibly a really good talker, obviously, to be able to do that and to have people still backing it up and not feel too suspicious about him, despite all that.
But I guess if you're okay, I haven't watched this. Well, actually, no, I watched some of season 16 with the whole America's Player thing, but I didn't watch the whole way through, so I didn't really see how it got out, how it kind of played out. But I guess if America really liked you, then hopefully they'd be voting in your favor. But if they didn't like you, they could really mess your game up.
Well, and that's the thing. That's the thing. If you watch the Canadian version of the show, it's sort of a hybrid of the American one, because there's the standard, there's the HOH and the veto competitions, there's the nominations, and then the eviction and stuff like that, and you've got to vote between two people typically to try to go home. But there is also a lot of fan voting. There's a lot of fan twists where fans just literally will vote somebody for a power. Like, for instance, my season, we had fans voting for who should be the HOH. So what it was, I think, so it was around.
Depending on what you're thinking is.
Yeah, it was around the midway point of the game where it was Nikki and Nick and Phil had the most votes from Canada. And everybody who was left in the game would throw a ball, like sort of like a casino thing that rolled around, and it would either have Nick and Phil's face or it would have Nikki's face. And Nick and Phil happened to have the most balls from everyone else, so they were HOH because of that.
Okay,
because of fan voting and random luck.
This might be an unpopular opinion, because I know there's a lot of people that love old school Big Brother, and they love just Big Brother with no twists, the social experiment, and I get that. But I feel like being in 2020 with the technology era that we're in, I do love the whole idea of getting people involved and being interactive. So I kind of love that. I wish that we would have had more interactive stuff.
Well, that's how it initially was in the US way back in season number 1. It was a fan voting thing, and that's how it was. That's how it is in any other international version. It's only North America that has the cutthroatness about the people in the house deciding everything. Every other show, it's like how popular you are with the outside, with the fans.
And I will say that that's actually really smart, because I remember when I was in the house for this past summer, and I kept on saying there has to be some sort of fan vote, something going on, because in the last 2 seasons, as far as I knew, there was a fan vote implemented into the show. But it's so smart from a marketing standpoint, because that means that people feel like they can get involved, and everything's on social media these days, so they're appealing to the people on social media. But then when people feel like they're emotionally involved in the show, they're more likely to watch. And I think our only fan vote thing, as far as when I was there, maybe I'm wrong, was the whole the America's Field Trip. So it was like a fan vote, but it was for negative stuff, because it was vote for who you hate.
Well, and that's another layer to the game, or really when you think about it, because we were, at least I was, self-conscious about that all the time. So I was trying to appear to be, in good with everybody here, but I also didn't want to. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't somebody who was the top dog, because then fans want to see the big move and the top dog get taken down, right? Yeah. And I also didn't want to. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't the boring dud person too, that fans didn't want to watch on their TV screen as well. So there's the fine line about playing to the cameras and playing to the fans, but also making sure that everybody there is okay with you and doesn't want to get rid of you. So
gotcha. So I think I know the answer to this, but would you go back and play Big Brother again?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
in an absolute heartbeat, I would. How could you not?
It's a surprised.
I guess, but other than Derek, really, from season 16, he doesn't really have anything else to. He's got no reason to go back and play again. I feel like almost everybody else, even if they win, have a reason to go back. I didn't win, so I have a reason to go back. I was a week away from potentially winning the show, and there was a point in the halfway point of the game where I was like, damn, I think I'm actually gonna win this thing. I actually thought that. So
I thought that about my game for 3 days, and then I got humbled real quick. I was like, never mind. I'm not.
Well, to be fair. And I remember when you got kicked off, that was like, I remember Nicole's confession and how broken up Nicole was about when it was between you and Cliff to get kicked off. That was the position I was in, was like Nicole's position for that vote. But that was me, like every single week I was the deciding vote.
That was Nicole every week.
That was
Nicole
pressure.
every week was the deciding vote.
Yeah, that was me in my season.
Yeah.
I was
That's
the
a hard
person
place to be.
that determined. It's a
hard place to be with and keep going without putting a target on your back.
Exactly. Yeah, no, exactly right. Like, I was in that position at least 6 times where my vote determined who would go home and who would stay in the game. And I was like, oh God, okay, this is going to put a massive target, because I couldn't hide from it. The people that were on one side or the other, people weren't going to hold anything against them, but everyone was lobbying for me, right?
Yeah.
And when they see the votes go down, I couldn't hide myself and be like, oh, well, I didn't vote this way. I would always have to damage control.
So, yeah, I was
going
to say, so for any future aspiring Big Brother players that are watching and they get caught out in the same position and they are the deciding vote every week, what's your advice to keep going week to week without getting a target on your back?
The best thing I can say, and the thing that I did, was try to find like individual reasons why I didn't do that. Like, when it was between Cassandra and Christine in week 3 for who to vote off, I couldn't tell them like, hey, I had an alliance with Cassandra, I didn't have one with Christine, because then that would totally expose that.
Yeah,
she had not moved. So I tried to give individual reasons as to what, well, you know, me and Christine never wants to talk game with me, or I tried to find things that were common knowledge that people were scared about from that person that were kicked off, and try to amplify that to be like, oh, well, it's kind of like everyone else did, right? And then it won't be like, it's not like a big revelation, because everybody, for instance, when Christine was kicked off, a lot of people were like, oh, Christine keeps shutting down game talk with us. She doesn't want to talk games. So we're afraid, like, what's she going to do if she's ever in a position of power? And so I used that and was like, you know, I was kind of the same way as everyone else. It just came down to me being afraid of Christine going forward and what she's going to do. And so I tried to use things like that, or like, oh, me and Maddie just didn't connect the same way that Tim did, and Maddie got rid of. The further along in the game, I tried to bookmark things that people did against friends of mine. Like, for instance, when Maddie was up against Tim, I had a perfect excuse of why to vote Maddie off, because she backdoored who everyone thought was my best friend in the house in Levita. And so I bookmarked that, and when the opportunity came between her and Tim about 3 or 4 weeks later, I was like, well, I can't keep Maddie in because I can't trust her. She backdoored my best friend in this game.
And that's
that wasn't necessarily the reason. The real reason was that
I was in a
3-person alliance. But it's a good reason. It's a good reason to say that doesn't expose anybody else and doesn't expose myself at all.
And actually, I feel like instead of highlighting like a potential relationship that you have with another person still in the house, people will be like, oh, like, it's because he wanted to avenge, you know, his friend, and then now he has nobody. So wow, that's smart. Yeah,
like, just I tried to think of like more of it as like a, well, this is my own personal belief because of this and because of this and because of this. So I tried to remember things that I saw that might have been perceived as sketchy from other players. And if there was anything that was common knowledge from everyone else, I tried to remember that and been like, oh, that could be a good excuse in the future.
Dang. Man, okay, so Joel, what prepared you for Big Brother? Because I feel like your thought process behind your moves is really, what's the right word? Really, I don't know. Like, I feel like, I don't know what the word is, but I feel like you have a very
like really calculated, like calculated sort of thing.
You have a lot of calculated reasons behind your moves, and not a lot of people. They like think about this, but yours, I don't know. How do you recommend someone like you get prepared for Big Brother?
Well, I can tell you the things that I did to prepare for the show is I did a lot of reading. I read a book about I read a book called How to Talk to Any People. No, I read that book. I read that book. I did read that book as well. I did read that book. I read Oh, here, I actually have one of my books right here that I read. It's called The Art of Strategy.
Nice.
Not Big Brother strategy, but like a business sort of thing. Kind of like how to win friends and influence people. Like how to get the upper hand on people in business so that they'll want to, you know, buy from you, or in business want to have accounts with you. Yeah.
If it's anything like, because I read How to Win Friends and Influence People, and that, yes, that is about business, but you'd be surprised how much of it crosses over to How to Win Big Brother.
For sure. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, for sure. So I read How to Talk to Anyone, which was a book about like sort of similar to How to Win Friends and Influence People. It was like how to kick off a conversation, how to build a personal relationship with somebody. And a lot of it probably is stuff that people would think, oh, well, duh, look somebody in the eyes. Well, duh, don't look down. Well, duh, do this.
Not a lot of people realize that, though.
I wrote notes about like, okay, this is my body language, because I have a lot of social anxiety, and I have a lot of issues sometimes, even just like looking people in the eyes. So I needed to like coach myself up and write down like, okay, when I'm having a conversation with people, I need to look them in the eye, because even though my comfort zone is maybe looking down or covering my mouth or something like that, that gives them a different perspective on me, right? And I need to
even
throw
subconsciously.
that out. Yeah. I need to throw that stuff out the window. I need to think what will make, so even just like, oh, don't fold your arms, because folding your arms is like a form of blocking and that you're not interested in their conversation. So I wrote notes about all these different subtle little physical body language things that you can do in order to make people comfortable. And I practiced that. I practiced that in my work, which at the time I was working as a radio journalist in Edmonton at the time. So I practiced that with people. And I also tried to look at what was popular with people, what was the sort of conversations that my work colleagues would have. I watched shows like that I would never watch, shows like Marvel shows and DC Comics shows, because that's all my work colleagues were talking about. And I wanted to learn how to get in conversations with them, so they would want to have conversations and socialize with me. And I did that specifically so that, you know, if I can do it there and practice with them, then I can interact and find personal connections with the people in the Big Brother game.
Joel, so, that honestly is, I ask people, I feel like after I've talked to a lot of people from Big Brother, that honestly might be some of the best and most unique advice that I've heard. Because that's so true. And it's honestly, it's all subconscious, but it's so true. Small talk, when all you have nothing but time. And all you do is see small talk. And that really is some great advice. And even the things about like the little social cues of like not making eye contact or covering your mouth, things that like it's normal for you and it's fine, but you never know how people are going to perceive it. Wow, that's fascinating. I love that.
And that's one thing that I had to like, I told myself, if I'm going to get picked into this game, and if I'm going to try to, you know, do the best I can in this game, I need to throw out that stuff at the window. I need to take a good look at myself and be like, okay, it doesn't matter how I see myself, how I feel about myself in this personal thing. I need to know, what do other people see me as? What are some things what comes to mind when other people look at me? How do people feel when I am around them? And how can I make them feel comfortable in that way?
That's some Dan Giesling shit, I'll tell you that.
That is. Well, I also...
a lot of, that's... I screen record all of my interviews, and so this will be up on YouTube. But I really hope that people that are watching and are listening really do think about that, because that truly is some of the best advice that no one's really ever straight out said and really like kind of broke down like that. So it's very interesting. I love that.
Yeah, and I'd also, I feel like some of that kind of came naturally to me because I worked as a news reporter for about 5 years. So in that line of work, you have to learn a variety of subjects about a lot of different things, like the oil industry. You need to talk to market people, business people. You might need to talk to political people once in a while. So you need to have a lot of knowledge about a variety of different things. And I tried to use that to my advantage. And you have to nod your head. You can't make a judgment call or opinion call. You have to just be like, oh yeah, yeah, that makes sense, totally, and say little things like that make them think that you care.
That's such good, Joel. That is really
you're just
good.
listening to that.
Joel, you should write a book, honestly.
Okay.
But
Well,
man,
I
also,
am
I wanted
writing
to
a
ask
book,
you,
but
do you
that's
think that
another
your
thing.
acting experience helped you at all with Big Brother?
Uh, Not necessarily. I was actually concerned, and that's why I didn't really want to share too much. It eventually, the longer you're in the house, the more you share, and the more you say stuff that you're just like, oh, why did I say that? That could put a target, but
Yeah.
sometimes you just can't help it, right? When you're in those
Because
conversations.
you're
So,
living and breathing it, and you
yeah.
forget, you have to, it's hard to stay 100% mentally on at all times.
Yeah, so I didn't want to share too much. I think it was my third or fourth week in the house where we had just like a what do you know about me, that we had like a let's get around and share stuff, and it was like, what do you know about me that would surprise you? And my thing was that I went to school in New York.
Anthony has a really loud ice machine, so that's what that noise was. If you heard it.
Oh, that's all right. I thought you were putting a body in a
I
carburetor or
know.
something.
He has such a
I
loud
was
ice
like,
machine. So continue, sorry.
yeah, no, just we had a moment where we were sharing like, hey, what would you be surprised to know about me and me? And I wanted to feel a part of the group, but I didn't want to share, so I said, oh, well, I went to acting school in New York. And I didn't share anything before that, but at that point it was already like 3 or 4 weeks in.
Yeah.
So I feel like once you've been in the game and gotten your feet wet for a few weeks,
Yeah.
you can share a lot of stuff that won't necessarily make you the target that it'll make
You don't want to share that week
one. You know what I
one.
mean?
Because then
No,
people
yeah,
will be
absolutely.
like, he's an actor.
Exactly. Yeah, no. So I definitely did not share any of that until I didn't even share that I was a broadcaster. I think I told them that I was a switchboard operator, that I worked in a radio station.
Yeah.
And then that's how they were like, oh, well, how does he know all this stuff that's going on in the news and this and this? And I'm just like, well, because I take phone calls from politicians and I transfer calls and stuff like that. So,
dang. Yeah, that was something about going into Big Brother. I wish that I could have gone in and like really it would have been so cool to go in and lie about my age and my profession and everything.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would have been able to hold that up for 100 plus days.
Exactly.
I wish I could have, though. That would have been so fun. And then at the end, be like, surprise, everybody! I'm not who you think I am.
No, yeah. Every choice that I made about myself going into that was a conscious and calculated choice to be like, okay, if I say this, what are they gonna think, and how do I dodge around this, and will this be too much? And then I'd go, no, scrap that. What about this? No, okay, scrap that.
Yeah.
What about this? So like, you can tell just basically how I'm explaining everything that a lot of thought was put into a lot of my initial decisions on how I was going to portray myself in there.
I'm honestly so inspired by the thought that you put behind your behind all your moves on Big Brother. I wish that, I feel like if I was recruited, so I hadn't watched Big Brother before, so I spent all my time ahead of time really binge watching the season. I studied, just like you did, I was studying, but I was having to study to keep up with the game. I didn't get to do all the extra added things like you did. And I wish that I could have, because I think that that's so important. And I honestly, I doubt that, besides you and Dan Giesling, maybe, I don't know who else put that much behind the scenes research into why you are perceived the way that you are. And I think that that's really, really fascinating.
Well, it was, I saw it as, this is my one shot to get $100,000. It's not nearly as much money as you guys make over there, even when you get voted off in the first 1 or 2 people. Like, some of the people that were pre-jury people ended up probably making more money than I did. Getting all the way to 5th place.
I don't know if I'm allowed to
grand prize is $100,000. Yeah, without taxes, but still.
Yeah, but stipend money.
Yeah, it's not as much as it's not as much as you guys get.
I don't know
not nearly as much.
How much. Well, actually, I think you can Google. We get $1,000 stipend a week.
Yeah, we get less. I'll just say we get less than that.
Dang.
We get a lot less than that.
Well, but you know what? At that point, I don't think no one's going because they want to make $1,000 a week. They're going because they want to win the game. They want to go for the experience.
Yeah, and that was me. It was like, this is my one shot to win the game. And I told myself, what is the best game that I can play? I would have loved to play like Dan Giesling and Dr. Will and just puppet master the shit out of everybody. But I told myself, like, am I actually going to be able to do that for, our game was 77 days. Am I going to be able to play that game and for that long? And I was like, I don't think I can. I don't think I can do that. That just my skill set doesn't translate to that.
But you know what also is different though is because I mean, like as I said, like I think like earlier when I compared you to Dan Giesling, I mean, of course y'all did play very different games because he was the puppet master of the season. However,
100%.
I think that sometimes you stumble into your spot in the game. Like for you, it was a floater, but it's not because of anything that you necessarily. It's not just because of you. It's because of people around you. Like you're not. People aren't entirely responsible for their position in the game. I didn't want to play the spot of a floater, but because of the people that I was surrounded with and our personalities and everything, that's just kind of how it shuffled out. So, so I think that so it's more than just like your personality type and what you are. It's also the people around you and what do they kind of classify you as, and I don't know. It's very. Big Brother's very fascinating. It's
the whole dynamic, and you have no idea what the sort of house dynamic is going to be when you're in there, and who's going to vibe with who and who's going to click with who. And you can have your whole strategy on how you are going to play, but you also need to be able to be like, okay, you need to be able to think on the fly and be like, okay, well, I need to scrap this because this won't fly with these people here, and I need to scrap this and scrap this. And the other thing is, being a floater, I don't know how much people from the outside who've never played the game realize this. That's a tough game to play. People think it's so easy to just sit there and do nothing, but you've constantly got to be on your toes, and you constantly need to be explaining your story to everybody else. Because, like I said,
when both sides equal.
Yeah, and keeping both sides equal while you're not the person that they want to target. Because, to be perfectly honest, floater can be an easy out for anybody at any point in the game. They could potentially get nominated and get put on the block simply because people are like, that's an easy person that won't ruffle feathers.
You know what though? I think that there's a difference between. I think that like a floater, like what you're talking about, and a floater with what I'm talking about is someone who's playing both sides. Right. But I think that a lot of people. Like there's two types of floaters. There's the gameplay floater where they're playing both sides, keeping both sides equal, trying not to keep a target on their back. But then there's also the floater that somehow gets wrapped in the same name, but it's someone who they weren't into an alliance, or they were in an alliance, they're very complacent and just chilling the whole time, or they didn't do anything. They were literally floating along. Like there's if you're a strategic floater, that's what you're talking about. But there are people that just chill and I get that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, Sophia, I never really paid attention to the comments, but this stuck out. Sophia 80 Kaiko said floater versus coaster. And that was on Reddit the other day.
That's a good point.
Floater is someone who, like, every week you're convincing the HOH that you're on their side, when there's, like, a coaster that they're just, like, chilling.
Yeah, Andy from season 15, probably one of the most controversial seasons of Big Brother, is a perfect example of a great. He's a perfect example of a great floater who was always involved in groups and in good with everybody, but he was always playing. He wasn't just sitting there like laying back and not doing anything and just waiting to get dragged to the end.
Yeah, I think we need to start. This is going to be our new. We need to start a petition. We need to start calling people out when they say floaters is a bad thing, because it's not floaters that are bad, it's coasters.
Yeah.
Floaters are great. But yeah, I feel you. Wow, man. This one went so fast. We're already out of time. And if I go longer than an hour, it's a bitch to upload on YouTube. And also, I got Chick-fil-A.
Oh, yeah, you got to have that. That's important.
But man, Joel, this has been sorry it took so long for us to coordinate schedules and get you on, but I'm so glad that I got you on, because this has been honestly fascinating and truly probably the best Big Brother advice that I've heard from any guests thus far. You and Dan Giesling have given the best Big Brother advice, and that's a good person to be.
Oh my God, that seriously means that means a lot, because I'm like, by no means am I perceived as like the top person that people think of when it's like US or Canada.
Well, so you should. As far as gameplay goes, your gameplay, the way that you broke down your gameplay and the reasons behind it, like, was absolutely fascinating. And I wish that I had known it before I went to the Big Brother house.
Well, I'll coach you up then if you ever get back on. There you go.
I love that. Well, thank you. Well, hey, okay. So actually, a lot of people so recently, Ali M_D87 asked, and I saw a couple other people asked, who do you want to win Survivor tomorrow?
So my personal favorite Survivor player of all time was Ethan. I think he's like the sweetest guy. He's got the curls like me. He was a soccer player like me. Ethan was my all-time favorite Survivor. I would like to see him win. I don't think his odds are very good of winning because he's got such an incredible story of like surviving cancer, and just all his personal journey is unbelievable that I don't think they'll even give him a chance to get to the end, because I wouldn't if I was playing.
Really? Why not?
No. Because I couldn't beat him if I was playing against him and someone had that story. If I'm playing against him, I don't want Ethan to win. If I'm a fan, I want Ethan to win because Ethan's amazing.
That's true.
So I would like Ethan to win. Who do I think is going to win? I think Tony has a pretty good shot.
I see a lot of Tonys in the comments.
Winning. I think Tony has a good shot at winning. My heart is with Ethan. Boston Rob, I wouldn't mind seeing get back in there and win either. And take your pick between those three. I want Ethan to win. I think Tony is going to win.
Well, I'm excited. I haven't been keeping up with Survivor. I just keep up with people's tweets, so I'm kind of in the loop, but not really.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure.
No worries. You too. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye.